Welcome
to Master the Start, a podcast for young professionals where we interview business experts on how you can master the start of your life in business.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Bear with me, I have a bit of a cold today in the middle of summer, which is strange. But our first guest, let's just hop right in, is Greg Frankenfield. Greg started his career in the consumer products industry with P&G, Procter & Gamble, and General Mills. He co-founded Magenic in 1995 with Paul Friedman to fulfill his passion for solving business technology challenges and creating a great place to work. Over the past 18 years, Magenic has adapted with the rapidly changing technology platforms and has grown into an international custom software development firm that employs 500 employees in 8 offices worldwide. He's headquartered in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, and Magenic has been proudly recognized for its open culture and was recognized at one point as a top 10 workplace in Minnesota. Most recently, Greg has also hopped into another entrepreneurial effort, and this is the Old Log Theater that he passionately pursues with his wife, Marissa. Greg is a brilliant guy. He is a good friend. He's very straightforward, and I hope you enjoy this podcast. Hello.
Hello, Bobby.
How are you?
Good.
Welcome to our show. Thanks for joining us. Do you want to just hop right into it?
Sure.
Okay. So let's see what you think of these questions now that we've kind of talked about them a little bit. So to this point, you want to let us know what the greatest moment is in your professional career? Kind of take us to that moment. Why it was such an amazing feeling after all your hard work?
Probably the greatest moment is when I was given the Entrepreneur of the Year award by the University of Minnesota, Carlson School of Business.
So why was that so fulfilling?
Well, really on 2 levels. First, I had a bone to pick with the University of Minnesota, and it gave me a platform to actually make a public statement about their admissions policies.
Okay.
And secondly, and the reason that I did it, despite the fact that I had a bone to pick with the University of Minnesota, my alma mater, it allowed me to acknowledge all of the hard work and contributions of the people who helped make this company over the last 24 years. And while I really didn't want to do it, and I don't personally care about that recognition, I thought what was important is that all of the other people's contributions be recognized for their contribution and for their hard work. So I figured, do a deal with the devil, make a public statement, and recognize all the help you've gotten along the way.
So did that bone to pick, did that start when you were going to school there?
No. The University of Minnesota is a large federal land-grant college. I attended there. I got my undergraduate in chemical engineering and an MBA in information systems. And my children, when they grew up, a couple of them, 2 of the 3 boys, applied to the University of Minnesota and were turned down. They don't have any kind of legacy. And yet the same institution had no problem asking me repeatedly for donations and support. And had trouble supporting a large public institution. And so I went to I actually had my own development officer assigned, a guy that hit me up for donations every year and wanted me to do long-term estate planning to include the U in my plans. And so I called him up and I said, hey, I've got a problem. Is there anything you can do to help my kids get considered for admission? He goes, we're a large public institution, and so we can't give preferential, admissions to people who donate. And I thought about that for a while and said, then if the state and the federal institutions are supporting you, why are you asking for public donations? So that was from then on, I refused to support them financially. And I told them that when they offered me the award.
Wow, that takes guts. Takes a lot of guts. Well then, since we just went over your greatest moment, do you have a moment where you were the closest to giving up professionally?
Giving up on this particular business?
Really? What was your low point?
No. Low point was probably post-2001. After the tech crash of 2000, when all of the internet bubble burst, and our business shrank probably by 35-40% in the space of 3 to 4 months. The business dried up. No one was spending money in IT. No one was spending money on software development. We had just opened 2 new offices. There was no work in any of them. We ended up shuttering one of them. Never did $1. We had an office in Dallas. Never did $1 worth of work in Dallas. Couldn't. Literally, the low point was when we approached a customer and offered to give them 6 of our consultants for free, and they turned us down. And so it was a pretty dark time, and it was then 9/11 didn't help at all because that kind of prolonged the agony for that period of time. And so I had severe doubts whether I could actually cash flow the business and make payroll.
So how do you bounce back from something like that? You just always think that you were going to make it work?
You go to work every day, and you just keep trying until the rope runs out. You really don't have a choice. There isn't a lot else to do. There's a lot of your own livelihood, a lot of other people's livelihood. Everyone's depending on it. And you look at what your strengths and your weaknesses are, and you focus on your strengths, and you get up every day and work and do your best to see if you can survive. And fortunately, we did.
Cool. Really cool. Well, since we already kind of talked about the U of M, if you could go back into your early 20s, is there anything you'd do a little differently or anything you'd focus on more?
No, actually, I saw that question and I thought about it. And the thing is, we all get to a point in our lives, and if we like ourselves, we rarely look back and go, well, I should change that. Because if I change that, I'm not who I am today. So all the mistakes, all the dumb things I did, all the things I may have regretted doing, they all contributed to where you are today and who you are. And I like myself, and I'm pretty happy with where I am. But the old butterfly effect suggests that if I change any of it, I might not have what I have today.
So do you think that has to go with, I think I've heard in your past you took a big risk starting Magenic, right?
Yeah.
And do you think if you were to die tomorrow and you didn't start the company, would you be sitting there with regrets?
You make a misstatement about entrepreneurs. You said, I took a big risk when I started Magenic. And so one of our mental faults as entrepreneurs is we actually don't think of it as a risk. And I never really thought that starting the company, doing my own business, was ever a risk. It was something I had to do. I wanted freedom. I wanted to, kind of have some control over my own destiny. And if I was successful, I wanted to reap the rewards of that success. Or if it was failure, suffer the consequences of that failure. But I never said, boy, this is a huge chance. Looking back, I had 3 kids, under the age of 5. I had a huge mortgage. I was in debt, actually, and I certainly didn't have extra cash flow. And starting a company, for most people, looks, I guess, risky. Where's the next paycheck going to come from? But I never thought of it as risky, and I had the support of my family.
So then how do you balance that so it really isn't nearly as risky in your mind? You had kids. I'm a young entrepreneur, just got married, and I always worry about having kids now while starting something because I'm so concerned that how am I going to give them the time, the resources, everything that they need while starting something that I don't know will work right away?
Well, first, kids never need as much as they never need as much resources as we think they need. We tend to overdo that part. Yes, you will probably not be able to give them as much time and focus and attention. You're not going to be necessarily always able to stay home late, although depending on what business you start and how you run it, a lot of those are personal life choices. But you give them a great example.
It's really cool. All right. Then if you were to give our listeners one life hack, so remember these are college students for the most part, if they had one life hack that they could apply to their life this week, what would it be? What could they start actionably trying to do?
2 things. Practice getting up early. I know it seems really stupid, but I've watched my young adults grow up and they struggle getting up early. And you see, well, why do I got to get up early? Why can't I struggle out at 8:30, 9, 10 o'clock and hit the day? As you start your own business and as your responsibilities increase, Your only choice is to extend your day. And in the morning, you have control of your day. And you can do with it what you want, whether it be exercise, spend time with the kids, whatever it is. But if you get into the day, you lose control. The events of the day will always run away from you. You'll find yourself at 5 or 6 p.m. with good intentions of having done something good for yourself, and it's gone. The opportunity's gone because someone else has interrupted it. In the morning, you're in control. And it's the only time of day I'm in control.
And what time is considered early?
Well, I've never managed to do better than 5:20 a.m. Now, I got guys that get up earlier than me, but that's about, and I forced myself in the last 10 years to start doing that. I never was a super early riser, but I think if I'd started it earlier, I might have been able to take better care of myself and better care of others.
What time do you go to bed then?
Now probably try to get to bed by 10:30, 11 o'clock most nights.
Okay. So you're still trying to get 6 to 7 hours of sleep. So what's your second little tidbit you were about to say?
Well, it's kind of an ancillary to that. Take care of yourself first before taking care of others. There's a thing they do on the airlines. I don't know if they still do it. I don't pay any attention anymore. I fly so much that I don't hear the announcement. But they say that in the case of a sudden loss of oxygen or altitude, oxygen masks will drop from the ceiling. And they say, always place your own mask before helping others. If you think about what that means in your life, it means if you're hurt or unconscious or can't help yourself, you're no good to anyone else. So I've always kind of taken that advice to mean take care of yourself first so that you can take care of others. Those who sacrifice themselves for others, usually find themselves unable to help anybody.
That's deep.
There you go.
Before I let you go, you have any parting thoughts or asks of the audience somewhere that they could connect with you or something you'd like them to look at that involves you?
Yeah, there's an out-of-date book, and you're going to think it's really old-fashioned, that actually got me off the dime to start my own company. And I never finished the book, strangely enough. I think I only read about half. So I have no idea if the second half would have actually kept me from starting a company. The ideas in it were so good that I just stopped reading, and I don't know, I never went back. But it was called The Magic of Thinking Big. And it's an old book. It's a little thin book. I think it's dated from the 50s. But the ideas in it were so powerful that it inspired me to start this firm eventually.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Greg. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Bobby.
Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope this podcast was a little smoother, made a little more sense than the one previously with Rich Gannon. Couple of things before we go. Number one, make sure you get that book, The Magic of Thinking Big. We'll put it in the show notes. You can take a look at it, put a link there, send you to Amazon. But yes, read it. It's worth it. The second thing is, start practicing those actionable lessons that Greg brought up. Practice getting up early this week. Also, make sure you take care of yourself first. He brings up a lot of good points. We'll put it in the show notes. You can check it out. The third thing is, go to gomahi.us. On that landing page, you will find questions for next week's podcast. Vote on those questions. That will allow you to give your own personal stamp on the podcast, and we'll ask questions that you want to hear. Lastly, check us out on iTunes. Rate us. It would be really helpful. We'd really appreciate it. If you like the podcast, let us know. And we will see you next Monday. Have a good week.